Today on Coffee Roasting Legends, San Franciscan Roasters Bill Kennedy speaks with Frank at Marco Island Coffee Roasters.
Okay, today we're with Frank at Marco Island Coffee Roasters. And you guys are fairly new in your setup, and you have just experienced a roaster training with our trainer, Mark Michelson. And we'll talk about that. But two, one of the things about the Coffee Roaster Legends that I really want to spend some time with is your experience, your journey. Everybody's journey is a little bit different, yet how people handle different obstacles that come their way in the process of starting a business, and especially a coffee roasting business, and what your focus, what your vision was when you started. And so we'll probably touch on some of those things. But when you start, talk about what you were doing when you finally got to the point that I think coffee's the direction we want to go in. And
Yeah,
I'll let you take it from there.
certainly. And thank you, Bill. It's certainly an honor and a privilege to be here and to have the invaluable lessons that Mark has really brought to our family and community here. And I also would like to thank you again for providing us with such a wonderful machine to produce great coffee and really consistent for our community as we plan to open in the next several months.
Glad
So
we
really,
you.
of course, and really looking back on our journey, when coffee started to come into our site was actually when me and my wife Morgan, we were back in Madison, Wisconsin. We both work for a healthcare IT company, and we were both lucky enough to have 10 weeks off of work for FMLA when she had our daughter Dakota.
Ah,
And for one of my responsibilities when waking up at 7 a.m. was to go to our local coffee shop, Forward Crafted Coffee, just 2 blocks away
okay.
from where we were living in Madison. And was able to bring Morgan back her general order. I'd get several different coffee orders myself. And we
Okay.
really loved the quality and the community that was really built around that. Our friends and different family members would meet there, and just loved the process they'd have in terms of the quality of coffee they were delivering for the community there in Atwood within the Madison area in Wisconsin. All that said, we moved to Marco Island, Florida, when that 10-week FMLA ended. So right around Christmas of 2023. And when moving to the Marco Island community, one of the quick things or things we noticed right away when we had to go get our morning coffee was there wasn't really a place like Forward, a place where there was really a lot of community around coffee and what was being served there. You know, we have the big chains that really get a lot of attention, your Starbucks and your Dunkin' Donuts, but not really a place for folks to come together for that next level of coffee. And that's something that really sparked some attention amongst our family of, hey, let's really bring something like this into Marco Island and do something different.
You perceived the need. Um, I think it's cool that you had the experience, the overall positive experience when you were in Wisconsin with uh, what sounds to be like the dream coffee house experience that people
Hmm.
aim for, right? You get down to Florida and it's not there, it's missing. Sometimes people don't know what's missing until you present the opportunity. But anyway, I see that that is probably the vision and direction you're wanting to go in, but I'll let you pick up from there. Where are you at right now? Um, and then two, I know you're toward the beginning of your journey, and
Hmm.
Mark was just there to provide training. But why don't you talk a little bit along those lines, and
Yeah, absolutely.
and what this means for your family?
Certainly. I think I've really been, I don't know if preaching is the right word, but hitting hard with my family and the folks involved in the business here that quality needs to be at the top. Certainly nice that we have a great ambiance here, great atmosphere, great people. But when people come in the door, we want to fill their cup.
Yeah.
both literally and figuratively. And part of that is having a quality coffee experience and having a coffee that can, as Mark, just to steal his phrase, find a home for our coffee there.
Yes. Right.
And getting into the training, really a key element of procuring, well, beyond having well-sourced beans, is consistency in every aspect. So consistency in the beans that are being brought in from the source,
Mhm.
consistency in the roast, and I'm sure in a little bit here we can get into some of the techniques that Mark has shared with me in terms of controlling rate of rise, some certain adjustments we can be making to airflow and heat application, to really have a replicable process for each bean and the profile we're working to produce with each roast. So that's really been phenomenal, and going back to invaluable to really work through and work towards mastery in a process to have that level of consistency for what we're working to roast right now.
And so it's you and Morgan that are basically running the business. Um, and I know that she was involved in a lot of the training,
Mhm.
and that she's taking care of Dakota right now. That's perfectly fine. And but talk about that too. I mean, let's just jump into that in terms of the training and what Mark brought to it. Some of the key takeaways that you remember. Um, I think you heard my comment about 80% in 1 week, and the next 20% will take the rest of your life. But let's pull out some of these 20% aspects that you got on this one-on-one training with Mark, both
Mhm.
both in the roasting aspect, and then tying it into the sensory where you're doing the cupping analysis the following day.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, from a hands-on perspective with our roaster, just getting into some different techniques that I wasn't utilizing before Mark came on site. For example, one of the things that really stuck out to me is a consistent charge temperature for each of
Mhm.
the beans we've been working on. So, coming into this, I would have thought for the different beans we're working to roast, maybe one bean's 380, another bean's 390, and another bean's 400 or 405. But really finding, hey, when we charge the roaster up, we can go right in and say 398 or 400 for a round number. That's going to be our charge temperature for consistency, and then using some different mile markers along the way. So, for example, starting with our air fully closed, and then at 90 seconds, moving it to 25% open, and then as we approach 250 degrees, generally moving to 50% open based on what we're seeing in our artisan graph development occurring, and so forth. So those are some of the mile markers there. And then knowing when to make certain gas adjustments, going in with some good momentum. I think we've figured out for our roaster when we're working an 8-pound batch that really, when we're preparing to drop, when we hit charge, really go into 4 bar is going to be ideal for the rate of rise we're looking to as soon as we drop our
Mhm.
coffee, and then when to make gas adjustments right before yellowing wraps up at 280, and then maybe a minor adjustment after that if need be. But really controlling the variables and really matching that consistency will help with getting those consistent results down the line with each batch.
Okay, I'm going to make a point here that's going to be fun. But before I do that, I'd like you to talk about. I think today you had the opportunity to do the sensory results and the cupping of that. So let's talk about you had I could tell that you had a coffee in mind when you were describing this. How did that coffee cup, and did you like it? And did you think that's something that we hit it? This is what we're serving to our clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, cupping is really that final say of, hey, did our roast turn out the way we wanted to? This is going to give us the best indicator for our consumer. Um, and there's only so much you can see from the roast, from smelling, from your graph, and so forth. So cupping to me is really the key result of how did we do. So it was really fun to start with our Ethiopian Yirgacheffe blend. We did 3 different roasts yesterday. And the third one, we did a soaking method, went a little lighter uh, in that development phase, and it was really fun to pull out some of the different elements and profiles even within each of the beans based on how we roasted them. So that was excellent. We were actually able to bring in 8 to 10 close relatives and other investors into the business to be able to do some of that cupping with us. So also nice to see their feedback and how some of the different taste profiles aligned across our group.
So that said, sound like overall is a positive experience, and you got
Oh,
positive
absolutely.
feedback. Yeah, but the point I wanted to make is that you described a roast and
Mhm.
an approach to how you roast, and then there's going to be people in the industry is like, "Oh, that's wrong." The point I want to make is like, look, if this works for you and your goals and your vision are met with the cup results and the sensory results, and it worked, then it is right. Coffee is a very complex organic.
Mhm.
Your clients are also a complex and diverse group of people, and that they are your target audience, right? And so, if it works for your audience, then you're doing a good job. Because at the end of the day, you want to be able to write the paycheck to your employees,
Mhm.
right? And pay the mortgage, and set aside money for Dakota's tuition. You know, in a few years when she goes to college. Anyway, all that to say, um, to the people that want to be critical of what you're doing, I would say step back a little bit and allow you to do what works for you.
Mhm.
And I think that there's just a lot of room where people can grow in that particular area. And for us, we just want to be able to provide the equipment that will allow you to have a myriad of approaches, a huge diversity of heat applications and different, conductive, convective, radiant, to develop your coffee in such a way. And like you said, you roasted it 3 different ways, um, and have 3 excellent outcomes that will appeal to 3 different, you know, clients within your overall customer group, right?
Yeah.
So,
And as you were alluding to with the complexity of coffee or the complexity of the consumer as well, I think one of the most important things Mark has really left and where we've resonated and built a great relationship over is keeping that growth mindset. You never know everything. Every day is a new day in terms of what we're learning and how do we continue to build on those skills and look
mhm.
for that process improvement along the way. And to your point, Bill, the consumer within coffee in this sense is the ultimate report card. It's really the test of, are we doing a good job and are we delivering a high quality cup or beverage that they can really appreciate and enjoy on an ongoing basis.
That's exactly right. Now you're just kind of stepping into it, and I mentioned before we started this podcast that I would love to touch base with you in a year, and let's have a look back and kind of do a report card. But now you're on this side of the future, right? So looking forward, what are your goals? What's your vision for your business? And what are some of the things that you've done that you feel are important um, to see to fulfill the vision and to ensure that you have the best chance of being successful?
Certainly. First, keeping quality as the cornerstone. Don't want to cut corners a certain area and put quality over or put profit or other areas over the quality we're serving. Of course, it's a business. We need to consider
Mhm.
our ROI and everything we do, but quality there is not something that we're willing to cut corners on going into this venture. So in the short term for Vision, it's really procuring that high quality range of coffee varietals and beans that we're going to be serving in different formats, whether it's espresso, drip, pour over. We even are going to have a frozen coffee machine that grandma's a big fan of. So we're working on that
Okay.
recipe right now. So the short term is, of course, when we launch here in August, September, to really have a high quality product and build community along with our coffee shop. from there, we are friends with many local businesses and restaurants, both within Marco Island, Naples, Collier County, where we would love to be able to roast our beans and even maybe use some special blends for those restaurants outside of micro, which would be a really fun endeavor. So in terms of growth, yes, we would, an ideal world next year, we can be talking about maybe upgrading the SF10 to a larger machine just because our production volume is going up, because we're not just serving the folks coming into micro, we're serving in the broader community because we're able to have a good enough product where other restaurants or businesses want to serve it.
Well, too, one of the things that I learned this a long time ago, decades ago, when I first started just getting into the coffee, professionally speaking, I took a class with Carl Staub at Agtron, and he mentioned that there was when you're talking to potential clients that would buy wholesale, you remind folks that, especially in a restaurant or a bakery or something like that, the very first thing that crosses their palate is going to be the coffee. And you want that to be a wow, don't you? You don't
Yes.
want that to be you want it to be a memorable experience for your client, right?
Mhm.
And then, of course, whatever the entree is or the pastry, you want, your client wants that to be a memorable experience for their customer. But generally speaking, when you're done before you leave the table, whether it's dessert or the end of the breakfast or the end of the pastry, it's you finish that cup of coffee. And it's like coffee is the beginning of that experience and the end of that experience for a lot of these folks. And don't you really want that to be a profound, memorable experience? Because if the people that you are selling wholesale coffee to can make that for their clients, well, their business is going to grow. And if their business grows, that means your business is going to grow too, right?
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, it's providing that simple pleasure um, for your clients and your clients' clients, right? So
Yeah. I
go ahead.
say I love the way you just put that, Bill, because I think it's very evident when speaking with you and working with Mark, your passion for coffee and your enthusiasm just bleeds right through, and it's contagious. So this is a really fun and a great experience for me just to be on speaking with you. But in addition, kind of going back to challenges, that's really the next level of, hey, Morgan spent 4 or 5 years working for one of the largest coffee manufacturers in the world as a barista at a Starbucks when she was at the University of Notre Dame in undergrad. But
Mhm.
all that said, she is passionate. I'm passionate. How do we coach and grow others, even within micro, and share that culture and enthusiasm and passion, so that when someone comes in, orders a coffee, and sits down and engages with our staff, that they feel that passion come through as well, and that enthusiasm for what we're doing here.
We've all seen those little ditties where it shows the ultra snobby barista, you know, and they're funny. And yet that experience obviously is real. That's why, so many little reels and vignettes have been made poking fun at it. But at the end of the day, from the top to the bottom, I always try to, with the culture that we have at our company here and hope to share and spread is kind of like a golden rule mentality. We want to treat people the way we want to be treated, right? And if we could do that, it kind of gets rid of that snobbiness and all that other sort of thing. And hopefully that is what's contagious, because that that type of genuine care and concern hopefully is contagious, and people want to take that with them. It's one of hopefully our ways to pay it forward too in this industry. I love this industry, and I love that so much of it is just that, the transparency, the care and concern of our fellow man, all the way, from the farmer all the way to the barista, every step in between, and it's it's hard, and the community too. The you were
Mhm.
talking about. Tell me again the name of that coffee house up in Wisconsin.
Forward Craft and Coffee.
Okay, and I missed that the first time. And what they obviously brought, it's like what they were doing there is um, had a huge impact on your life and your worldview
Mhm.
and everything, didn't it? And
Absolutely.
eh, that was their way, and they are you are a fruit of them and their organization and their community paying it forward. And now it's in San Marco, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I can just
Marco Island, yeah,
think back to years ago, and I still know the barista that was there every morning making
yeah.
making our latte or espresso that we were ordering. And you just gave me so many ideas in terms of whether it's the golden rule, treat other people or you want to be treated, or what our commandment, our principle can be along those lines, so that, hey, is this how you want to be treated when coming into a coffee shop, or how would you procure or speak to a loved one? Because that's the community and that's the type of environment we want to have here.
So, our next steps are okay, uh, you're not quite open yet. What do you have next? What do you have to do? What do you feel like you need to finish up before you open?
Yes. So, funny enough, our side, Marco Island Coffee Roaster, it's a joint venture with our open door neighbor, the Borough. So they are going to be pretty fast casual restaurant serving breakfast, lunch, dinner, full bar. So there's some synchronization and synergy happening between our
Okay,
two groups.
excellent.
And we're super close to getting the final inspection pass for opening. There's
Great.
just one ventilation item in the kitchen that, once we're past a lot of Collier County and Marco Island City code, we'll be ready to open. So right now targeting August. And from there, right now, it's really working through some of our training and kind of cultural aspect for hiring and starting to get ready for staff. It's just hard to start hiring at this point when we don't have an exact date saying, yes, grand opening's August 1. If we have that opening, we'd start hiring, knowing that we could commit that to our employees.
Yeah, that's gonna be a challenge, and, I'm looking forward to, talking to you in a year and talking about that experience, and, what you did right and what you could have done better. I won't say wrong. I'll just say
Yeah,
what you could have done better.
opportunities.
That's right. Yeah, how many hopefully you won't have too many opportunities.
We'll learn from them, if that's for sure.
That's true, and that's a really great way to look at it. One of the things that I wanted to point to is like, it takes grit to get from where you were picking up your coffees
Mhm.
in Wisconsin to where you are right now, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's not going to change. You're going to have to. You're a business owner now, and it's something that you've embraced, and you're just going to hang on to that for dear life um, from here on out. It's just the way it is, and so I encourage you just um, don't give up. Just keep on keeping on, and from what I see, you're doing everything right. Oh, I know what. I know people are gonna, and I don't get any kickbacks on anything, but who are some of the coffee suppliers that you're using that you have found good success with some of the coffees?
Yeah, really right now, key one that we've been using as a source is Cafe Imports. So still
Mhm.
building that relationship. And what's nice is, locally it'd be great if there was somewhere down in the Southwest Florida area, or even towards Miami, where, hey, I can drive and pick up,
Right?
a few hundred kilograms of coffee, but I haven't found that yet. So shipping costs do matter. And Cafe Imports, what's really nice about them right now is they're willing to offer, hey, if you buy 10 bags or a pallet, we can ship it to you at a flat rate that really makes it affordable. That flat
Okay.
rate being, I think it's 140, $150, which is a tremendous shipping rate for when you're talking 700 kilograms of coffee from Minneapolis to Marco Island, Florida.
And as far as your interaction with them and their ability to recommend good coffees, how would you describe that?
Oh, I would give them a 10 out of 10 so far with the experience I've had in terms of their sales representatives and others being willing to dive deep, get into their sustainability practices, the farms that they're procuring from, what their process is when they go there and visit. just a great company all around from what I've seen over the last several weeks in terms of working with them. But certainly have a long way to go and still establishing and building more rapport and relationship. And Mark's been really helpful, even suggesting, hey, like if, when you have the time and you're ready, like you should really go out there and say, hey, I'd love to go with you on one of your upcoming trips. What do you
Yeah.
have planned over the next couple of weeks or months, and really go learn from them and how they source and choose some of their coffee.
Those sorts of educational experiences, you know, they've gotten some criticism, but I mean that's how you bring that the world at origin into your coffee experience for your clients,
Hmm.
right? If you can do that successfully and bring that world, that story, that sense of being uh,
Hmm.
of that part of the world into your coffee house and into your client's experience with your coffee house, I think that's very valuable. Anything that brings the world together allows one to empathize with those pickers. They get those raw fingers, but they're doing a really good job picking the cherry at just the right color. It's that bringing that to the world there, I think, is probably one of the most valuable community experiences that you could do too. Um, so I love it. I love seeing different organizations. I see some coffee behind you, and it's like bringing that experience to our American way of life, or any urban way of life, wherever this is being watched. I think is really important because the city dweller doesn't necessarily have a good feel for the work and energy that goes into bringing them just that little sip of coffee.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it. Mark has shared quite a bit of, hey, just because you're getting a nice batch of Colombian Nariño doesn't mean that as a roaster, you need to pull out that expression, because that comes back to that farmer's bottom line. Like, we want Nariño to have a great reputation. We want that farm to do well and be able to maximize the value of the product that they're putting their hard work and livelihood into. That it's my
Mhm.
responsibility as the roaster, if I'm going to be purchasing that bean and I'm going to be offering that and advertising it as that single origin or even in a blend, that I better put in my best effort to ensure that it matches what that coffee expression could be for the consumer, or else they wouldn't be able to get the dollar that they do for that their level of farming.
That's exactly right. It takes a lot of people to ensure that the farmer can get the value that they deserve for the amount of effort and work that they put into it. And I really appreciate that. And you're doing that for the sake of the farmers. And then lastly, so you just finish up this training time with Mark Michelson. Uh, Thumbs up, thumbs down, 5 stars.
Uh, if I had more than two thumbs, we could put them all up. Mark's a tremendous human. Uh, Above all, just everything that he represents, the grit, the passion, the love for teaching and coffee, and just our engagement together, even leading into our time, has been really invaluable. And I am so indebted and grateful to Mark for how much he's empowering our business here. And I would say the same to you, Bill, for coaching us last year as we were looking to purchase our SF10 and really figuring out the right setup for it. I'm just so grateful for the empowerment that both of you have brought, and really the great foundation that Mark has helped lay here for us to continue refining and building our skill set. Because I look back and hearing Mark's journey from 2008 forward to winning U.S. Roaster in 2017. I'm so far from that, but it's also really inspiring to know, hey, this is the time to really bear down and go through the multiple roasts and hours every day and continue to cup and taste and refine that process. So when we're open and beyond, we're really maximizing the product we can bring to our community members here.
So you're not, your front doors aren't open, but you're obviously roasting. Do you have an online presence if people wanted to buy some of your coffees?
Um, Oh, we're establishing it. So we're
Okay.
standing up our website. We have our social media presence on Instagram. That's Morgan and our other business partner Lauren. They tag team that, so we can send that information over if we'd like to link our social media. And soon,
Sure.
yeah, soon we'll be ready to start selling some of our bag coffee. So
Awesome.
if anyone is interested, yeah, we'd love the feedback and the opportunity to have your business.
Well, Frank, I want to thank you for being on this podcast, and I really appreciate your input. I appreciate your kind words. I need you to tell everybody I did not pay you for any of those kind words.
You certainly did not. I didn't even know I was going to be speaking on here until recently. So
Well, this seemed to be an opportunity where I could catch someone at your stage of the game, right? And that's a unique a lot of times people look back when they have a long history behind them that built their success. Um, let's look at your history from today and backward and let people see kind of what your experience looked like. And I'm hoping that we're able to, and I think we were able to bring that to our audience that way. So again, thank you, Frank. Say hi to Morgan, and I guess that's it. We'll wrap it up, and we'll talk to you in about a year or so.
thank you very much. And yes, look forward to us continuing this discussion in the year.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you again. Bye now.
Great afternoon.